بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. It is indeed a blessed month in many ways, but then we need to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has informed us that this month is a very beneficial and a profitable month for us. At a cosmic level, we really do not understand what is happening, but since we are a part and parcel of the cosmos, we are very much interconnected with whatever happens in the wider universe. Now, the Quran does make statements that we have the treasures of all things, and we cause them to descend in well-measured proportions, and everything is in a state of balance. He also states that this month is the one in which the Quran has been revealed, and also states that there are nights in which decrees and destinies are made or determined. And of course, the Quran also leaves a leverage for maneuverability and change. So destiny is not altogether fixed, even though it is made on these nights, possibly, or in this month. The one thing we need to awaken to is that we can actively change our own destiny. But we need to also ask, what would we change about our destiny? Think about this very carefully. You see, for the most part in our lives, we forget that we are from a very lofty divine source, and we ourselves are lofty and divine. We are not of this world. Due to this forgetfulness, the destiny that we want and the destiny that we want to change is all worldly destiny, the bodily destiny. We seek health, wealth, life, happiness. But when analyzed, health, wealth, life, happiness are all bodily properties. Because we have become so entrenched in this body, we feel that that is where our pleasure lies. In fact, the only destiny we should be wanting to change is the inner destiny, that we arrive at the knowledge of ourselves. We begin to understand who we are. Our life right now is like people who are in a dream. They have become unaware that this dream is of an hour or two. It will end, make no doubt of it. It will end. But whilst in that dream world, they have the option to awaken within the dream and understand that we have to experience hardships that we are encountering within this dream in order to arrive at the wholesomeness of our own existence. Because once we awaken, a lot hinges upon the way we have become within ourselves. But instead of that awakening in the dream world, we just want palaces, happiness, joy, the love of our life, the love of our heart, not knowing that this is not real at all. And once we awaken, we are going into or awakening into the real world. And I'll give this analogy in a way that a very deformed fetus takes birth into this world. The fetus, when not formed properly, will not be able to handle the challenges of this world adequately and will not be able to make the most of what this world has to offer in terms of the experiences. The same maybe would be the state of our souls if we were to awaken prematurely and find ourselves incapable of sustaining a much more enduring life, to the extent that that life is known as the eternal life, although There is no eternality about it, as we will point out at some point in the future. And the Quran makes exceptions as to how it's using the word eternal. It's not used in the meaning of forever, ever, ever, without an end, because that does not make sense. So we need to realize that even though we can change destiny, what is the destiny that we want to change? We want to change the bodily destiny, whereas that is not the right thing to do. The thing to change is the inner destiny, where we are headed within ourselves. So this is the month in which God's light is on offer. That is there to awaken us to our own selves, for us to deepen, become wholesome creatures, so that when we move forward, the world to come is not a strange world. It is the world that we begin to live in from now, before we make that transition and before we cross the bridge and go over. It will be very difficult if we were to leave this world and to be met with a rude awakening in another world. The Quran states that they will cry out and say, "O Lord, now we see, now we hear. Send us back, that we may do righteous deeds." The righteous deeds here means acquainting ourselves with what we are in truth and becoming wholesome beings from within. In another place, the Quran states that they will cry out on that day and they will say, "If only we had sent forth for our real lives." In fact, the Quran uses the word, "they will remember on that day." So here it is. These are blessed days, blessed nights. Undoubtedly, the destiny, the physical destiny of the world hinges on these blessed days as to what is going to be destined. I do not have the time to take us through the verses of the Quran, for that will lengthen the talk. But let us assume that is what is happening. However, together with the physical destiny is the spiritual destiny that is to be made. We can actively make this destiny. Fundamentally, what is on offer right now is the light of the most splendid himself. That is what we have to gain. I will just ask a simple question. I did not ask God to give me air to breathe today. He has given me air to breathe. Yes, I didn't ask him. I did not ask God to keep the water wholesome and uncontaminated. He has kept it wholesome and uncontaminated. I did not ask God to bring the sun out to shine upon us, nor for him to shower us with benevolent showers upon which hinges our life. The very fundamental things upon which life is contingent. I haven't asked God to do any of those things for me, yet he has done them all. I did not ask God to keep my heart beating. He has kept it beating. Here is where I realize my failure, that the very things upon which my life is hinging and it's contingent at every moment, I never ask him for any of those things, and he still keeps them coming. He still keeps everything in place. So then I know in my own self that even if I don't ask Allah for anything, he will still give me everything that is needed. But there is one thing that if I do ask for, I will get. And that is the truth. A portion of his self, a recognition of my own self. And that is one thing that I truly need. Even if I were to live here for 1,000 years, I have to move on. And even 1,000 years life will seem like an hour when compared to the state of awakening. Nuh lived for 950 years in his people and some other hundreds of years after. When asked, "Oh, great messenger of God, How did you find your life when the angel of death came upon him? He said it was like moving from the sun into the shade. That is how my life seems to be. So these are the nights and the days in which we need to take the opportunity to cut away from our daily routine, from our daily lives, to make time to sit with God alone. Going to mosque is fine, but even the mosque has become a place of deception, a place of pretense, because we don't find ourselves. But in the depths of night, to sit for a little while with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ask Him, oh Lord, what is going on? What do you want from me? How best should I conduct this journey? Oh Lord, fill me with the light of your beauty. Allow me to come to the fullness of my own existence. Or as Bibi Fatima said, cut me away from everything that you will cater for and spare me for that thing for which you have created me. To try and find ourselves. Now, it might be a bit of a philosophical question, who am I and what is going on? But it is not that difficult. Ask ourselves, why are we here? What is it all about? There is no permanence in this world. No empire came into existence, but that it has been razed to the ground. No great human ever took birth, but that their names have been effaced from the pages of history. Even the great galaxy clusters come to an end. They devastate their energies or collide with each other. Then what is it all about? A mere 50, 60, 70 years of life. To what end? Ask those deeper, deeper questions. Find ourselves, awaken, and then take the tasbih and say, oh Allah, Ya Allah, La ilaha illallah. Find the name being chanted deep within the heart. Let the heart be replenished by the name of Allah. Let the thoughts fade away. Let the emotions settle. Break the mirage of illusion. Come out of pretense. Emerge into the world of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then talk with Allah with utmost depth of meaning. Reading the du'as that the Imams have given does not mean much unless we relate to them. When they say, Ya uddati fi shiddati, oh, the one I count upon in states of intense difficulties, then mean it. Mean it and say to Allah, you are my pillar of strength. You are my cave to which I retreat. You are my light in dire darkness. Who do I have but you, O my Lord? And who do I want but you, O Lord? O Lord, allow not this heart to be tarnished with other than you. O Lord, allow me not to rely upon other than you. When we give ourselves over to Allah so intensely, so deeply, so intimately, then break the idols within. Then the door opens for the reception of the beloved. In fact, the beloved will look beyond ourselves, awaits reception within ourselves. For when have I left you, he says to us. Or as Hussein says, oh Allah, did I ever need to come close to you? You were always nigh. It was I who stayed away from you. O Lord, when were you far that I needed to come to you? To find a place of comfort with Allah. To say to Allah, Allah, you are my master, but you are my friend too. You are a friend, but you are a parent. I give myself wholesomely over to you. I'll end it there if anybody has anything to say.
Thank you, Shaykh. That beautiful talk. I have a question here. Somebody's asked. It says reference to the Ramadan session on Facebook. Shaykh, you mentioned at Qayamat we will be turned into animals according to our amals from Rasulullah's hadith. It is mentioned in the Quran. I am extremely confused. Please explain.
So these bodies of ours are not real, they are illusory. They are not real in the realist sense. Yes, they are real. We are humans because we are in a human form. A horse is in a horse form. That is undeniable. But the real I that is working through the body is not the body. The Prophet said, whatever that real consciousness becomes, it will reveal itself on the day of Qiyamah. So if the consciousness is a human, it will reveal itself as a human. If the consciousness becomes the divine light, then it will reveal itself as divine light. If the consciousness allows itself for the predomination of a particular attribute that is associated with a creature of God, then that creature will be projected by the consciousness. So people will appear as snakes, as ants, as a variety of animals, but each will recognize the other because they will recognize the souls, and the souls will be projecting their inner state with which they associated and close attributes that became fixed with their state of consciousness. That's what I meant. And the Prophet said, people will be made to crawl on their faces if that is what they project, like animals.
Thank you, Shaykh. Samina, I see your hand up. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. You can go ahead now and ask your question.
Yes. Salam, Shaykh. How are you?
Alaikum assalam, alhamdulillah.
You did a beautiful lecture. I want to start off by saying that it was very, very heart-touching. And one thing I wanted to ask you, said, how do we awaken inner destiny? Something about how do we awaken our inner destiny? So I was a little confused about that. What did you mean by that?
So let me put it differently.
Yeah.
When we are alone with Allah, we say to Allah, "O Lord, you have created me in this world, and you have created everything so beautifully. Even if I don't ask you, you cater for me. I want to know, what is it all about?" And then to say to Allah, I want to relate to you. And I want to hold you as my instructor and as my teacher. You teach me. Allow me to understand what is going on. And then to realize very deeply that whatever we have now will fade away. In our lifetimes, it is fading away, our health, agility, everything goes, right? But when we are laid to rest, even the body will be turned into dust or food for other creatures. So what are we taking back with us? When we think, we will see the only thing we take back with us is ourselves and what we become. And the only way to go back is to go back filled with the light of God, which means going back in a state of inner completion. What is the state of inner completion? Inner completion is, for lack of better sort of expression, I will say, security, calmness, kindness, fearlessness, love, charity, care for other. But beyond that is reliance on Allah, trust in Allah, love of Allah. But beyond that is to go back, as the Quran says, with the light of Allah shining through us, because He is our destiny and He is our origin. We say in the Quran, don't we? We are for Allah, and at every instance we return to Allah. So Allah is the only calling, and the inner destiny is to invite the beauty and light of Allah to emerge through us. So that is what I was trying to say.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. That was beautifully explained. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Shaykh. I think it would be nice to do a series on how to reach your inner destiny. Okay, I have one last.
Sure. Well, after.
Yeah, I think it would be nice. Or maybe it could be a topic for the retreat, inshallah. Okay,
Yeah.
I have a question here saying, what are the signs of achieving that closeness to Allah? Can you hear me? How do we know we are in the right direction?
So it's very, very easy. It's like when we are unwell in the body and we ask the physician, how do we know that we are well? It's very simple. When the pains go, when you start breathing properly, when you can jog for a mile, when you can digest your food properly, and when the food tastes nice, when you sleep well, know that your body is cured. Spiritually, when the point comes when we are no longer going to bed, unable to sleep, not knowing what will transpire in the morning, but say, oh Lord, I sleep in your presence. If you take me to your own presence, or if you awaken me, it is your choice. When enemies increase, but the heart is not perturbed, when the wealth increases, but the heart is not conceited and still as humble, when things leave us and we turn to God and we say it was yours, and by priority it has come to you, when sickness befalls us and we say, oh Allah, thank you, so that I may be cut away from the false illusion of good health, and know that this is a bestowal from you. When these things start happening in our souls, when we find it easy to forgive and let go, or share our bounties with others, then we know that we are now in the presence of the Beloved.